Hey, welcome everyone. Going to give it a few moments here to let everybody make their way into the webinar. While we're waiting on that, if you would, you can look right about here. There's a little button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. It says chat. If you want to click on that, change the recipients from host and panelists to everyone if you'd like everybody to see your message. And just share with us who you are, where you're from, what subject area you teach in. That's always kind of fun information to see where everybody is coming from for the webinar today. And I'm gonna go ahead and encourage this now. Please, as we get into the topic today, please ask questions in the chat. I'll be monitoring that. And the more questions, the better. Usually, the more questions you get in the webinar, the more fun it is. So, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask those. Rajiv, is that a friend of yours? I see
That's my
the chat.
brother.
That's your brother. Oh, the pressure is on now. You've got to make sure you perform. Oh,
Hmm.
wow. No, so some Nebraska's, Olon College out in California, Madison College. Awesome. We'll give it just a couple more moments here. Let everybody come in to the webinar.
So I have my colleagues here too.
Klamath Community College. Love that. All right. So I'll go ahead and get started with at least my portion of opening things up. So my name is David Green. I am the Partner Engagement Manager here at Harmonize. Today we have a webinar that is all about designing applied learning within your courses. And we have an amazing presenter with us, Dr. Rajeev Mendadala. I believe I said that correctly. Please forgive me if I didn't.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely good.
yeah, perfect.
Excellent.
And he's going to be presenting with us today. I do want to say specifically thank you to USDLA. They sponsored last week's webinar, and that was such a great turnout that we actually formed a partnership, and they're going to be helping us promote and partnering with all of our webinars that we're doing. So be on the lookout for more and more webinars coming down the line. We have a lot of really great instructors. We're going to be highlighting and showcasing the work they're doing in their classrooms. Um, a couple of housekeeping notes before we jump into this, and I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen real quickly. One thing is, I do want to let you know we do have a Padlet that I created. I'm going to throw that link into the chat. And this Padlet's great as a resource for you to take away. This is for all of our webinars, so you'll see a lot of different rows here of different webinars that we've either done in the past or going to be doing in the future. The second one here is going to be the one that Dr. Rajiv is presenting today. This is the Designing Applied Learning webinar. And in here, I've actually included some of his actual instruction prompts that he's put into his discussions and assignments. He's been so kind to share those out. And of course, we know that sharing is caring in the higher education world. So being able to take these and maybe adapt them to your course or just use them as inspiration of how he's laid out certain key teaching methods, even if you don't teach in the sciences. And I'm sure we have plenty of people, I think I've already seen plenty of people saying they teach outside of biology or chemistry or some of the sciences. So I think you'll see today a lot of the teaching methods that Dr. Rajiv is using really goes beyond biology. He's going to focus on what he's doing in his biology course. Um, but uh, but yeah, before we go any further, Dr. Rajiv, I just wanted to give you a moment, maybe to introduce yourself and kind of give a little background about yourself, if you want to do that.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Rajeev Mendadala, and I'm a biology instructor at Central Community College, Columbus, Nebraska. I am a doctor by profession. I'm a physician, actually, but I'm also interested in teaching. So I teach biology at the Central Community College. I'm an internal medicine specialist, but then I also teach biology. Uh, it's a sort of interest I have. I also teach medical students anatomy and physiology and a lot of internal medicine things. Um, so I'm here at Central Community College since 2 years, and I've earlier taught at Troy University in Alabama too. And uh, teaching is a passion for me, so I'm very much over here because I feel like, we as educators, we should build a very basic, give a basic structure to all the students to make them very good professionals. And during my education, and I've been uh, working in different places all over the globe. I've worked in Europe, I've worked in Russia, I've worked in India. So I know what they are missing, and I think like I can actually provide some part of myself to teach them the very basic things of science in a way that should be learned, so that they can become very good professionals. So yeah, that's me, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
David.
So as someone who works at Harmonize, I reached out to you. I saw that you were using Harmonize a lot, but we don't really. And if you've never come to one of our webinars, we don't really focus a lot on Harmonize. We literally like to spotlight the instructor and what you're doing in your course. And when I met with you the first time, it was really amazing to see how you're using not just Harmonize, but multiple tools to really like dig into this ability to transform learning from a just a knowledge gain into actual applied knowledge so that the students are not just walking out of a classroom going, yep, I memorized that table or that formula or whatever, but I actually know how to take that information and apply it in my life or in my career. And that was really the main thing that drew me to want to present with you today. Um, and I know you've got a lot to present. Can you tell us a little bit about like what your passion was behind trying to design these courses that are more, aligned with
Interactive.
yeah, design, applied learning rather than just a memory class?
Yeah, see, most of the students, like I've seen that, they complain that they have the degrees and they don't have a job. And I always tell them it's just not the degrees what you need. You need to implement the concepts you learned in the class. And that's the reason why you go for an interview. It's just nobody's going to take you into job just by seeing your degrees. They're going to interview because they're going to check your skills, like the things what you learned and how you're going to apply the things what you've learned in your classrooms. And for that very reason, I've been talking with a number of students and trying to give them a little bit of analytical questions and learn from them if they're able to really solve the analytical questions based on the sort of concepts they learn in the class. And I found that most of the students were good at giving the exams because they could memorize the concepts and everything. But when I give them an analytical question, they are failing to implement that. They're failing to implement the concept they learned in the classroom. And this is a big drawback. So I also, when I started teaching over here, like we came across a lot of, I mean, we've seen that the entire design system over here was a passive method. It's just implementing most like we have a lot of online students as well as classroom students, but then both the sessions were designed in such a way that it was only passively delivering the subject through lectures, videos, through reading assignments, and through multiple choice questions and all. But that's not all which they need. They need something more because they are able to memorize them, but they're not able to implement them. So I thought of completely changing this design, implementing new methods like using, uh, AI to design some sort of new methods, like to use scientific methods. Suppose we've uh, in biology, like in general biology, we teach them about scientific methods. That's the very first class. So we teach them like how the science which we're learning today is completely evidence-based, and that evidence came through a method called scientific method. So after learning these concepts, like how scientific method has, like you make an observation, you then come up with a question based on the observation, and then you make a hypothetical theory and all these things. When they learn this, they also need to implement this. And so I, because by implementing this, they'll know how to make an observation, what they have to collect from the information they have to collect from an observation, what sort of questions they have in their mind, how to collect data based on the questions they have in their mind, how to analyze the data, and how to make a conclusion. Because all the new science, all the concepts in science are based on this, right? So, David, would you like to show that sort of thing which I made, an interaction? So this is a sort of assignment which I created using ChatGPT. I just gave a good prompt and that created this because I wanted to use, I wanted the students to, you know, um, use the scientific method on a basic concept. Like, see, this is an observation, like, it's about how sleep deprivation or, will act on a person, So there are many things like, can you come a little bit down?
Hmm.
A little down? Okay. So these things like, there are many methods, like they could choose a lot of things like, sleep deprivation, how sleep deprivation can cause stress in people, or how can sleep deprivation affect a person who's going for an exam. Like there are certain students who would like to study the whole night before giving an exam next day morning, and there are certain students who would like to have at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep before going for an exam. So based on that concept, they could design a hypothetical theory and do a small sort of an experiment, and based on what they observe, the data they collected, they can form a conclusion and they can. So every student has a different view. So based on that, they could implement the scientific method in a very simple concept and see how much of these are they implementing in real world scenarios. So in future, when they go into professional studies, they can implement the same scientific method to learn more about the concepts they learned in their classrooms. So this is what uh, AI helped me in, because uh, this helped my students to be prepared. Like, tomorrow if they go out, they can actually prepare themselves. I mean, if somebody comes up with a certain concept and sort of analytical question, they can actually think about it in a as a scientist rather than as a passive learner.
I remember when we were speaking, you mentioned this to me, and it stood out that you were like, a lot of your students are not going to major in biology or sciences, and a lot of these
It
students are
doesn't
coming
have to
through.
be. It
Right.
doesn't have to be.
And
Because
you
this scientific method is applicable in any scenario, like whether you're going to a business, whether you're going to be a business major, or you're going to be a nurse, or you're going to be a sportsman, or you're going into sports medicine, anything. It
right.
doesn't matter. You want to become a teacher, that's fine, absolutely. Even then, you have to use this application because you'll have, as a teacher, you'll come across lots of challenges, like how do you have to deal with certain sort of students, what sort of things you have to implement. So you can apply this scientific method, collect the data, and come to a conclusion. And yes, this works out based on the majority of the students, how they interact. So this can be applied to any field. It doesn't matter.
I
So
love that
don't,
because yeah, and I can think, you might have to reframe it some. You might not call it the scientific method when you're giving the assignment, but the same concepts can apply that if you're teaching communications or you're teaching English or you're teaching history, have the student go out, research, develop a hypothesis, do some testing, figure out what your conclusions are, and then share those with other people and get feedback from them as well to get their
yeah,
interpretation of the same thing. I think that's it's universal, but you're really teaching it in an applied way, so the students are actually taking something back out of it.
yeah, we need to, and this is called applied science, like the conceptual science is something which we learn in the class. And science, I mean, not only biology, it includes everything. Because even language is a science. Don't say that language is not a science. It's a way of communication. It has a lot of science in it. So that's what I say. Like, scientific method is a general name to a research method, because any
Mm.
research method in any subject has to apply a scientific method. They have to go through all these processes to come to a conclusion,
So
right?
one of the things that you also mentioned to me, I know you're using harmonize, and we'll talk more about the harmonized portion of things maybe a little bit later. But you also mentioned how you are using uh, different tools to the kind of scientific method was one way of getting this class to participate, but you're actually using multiple different tools to kind of get them going and to be more hands-on in their learning rather than just memorization. Can you talk about
Yeah,
some of those other tools?
yeah, like Labster, for example. I use Labster a lot for mostly for both my in-class as well as online students. And you see, online students are the main sufferers because they don't have any face-to-face interaction. It's that they are more of passive learners because we just put them on sort of uh, you know, we just put them on some sort of videos and lecture notes and some sort of assignments to do them. They're not in direct interaction with that. And for that reason, uh, Harmonize helped me a lot interacting with these online students, and so as Labster. And Labster is a complete system where it's a complete virtual lab system where we can assign labs based on the chapters we've completed in the biology or any subject. Like Labster covers a lot of subjects. It covers from biology to microbiology to max and all these, and anatomy and physiology, all of them. And they have designed labs, which are all virtual labs, which are really fantastic. It's just like playing a strategic game on computer, they give
Hmm.
you all the things. And this is, I mean, I'm really amazed at Labster because it's making the student learn the concepts which they could learn in a real lab while they're still online students.
Mm.
And there are certain, and even in the labs, we have certain restrictions. We cannot implement all sort of labs in the colleges. We don't have like super sophisticated labs where we have all the instruments where we can start doing this experiment. But that is made possible by Labster because we're able to stimulate those actual labs, which are quite cost effective. And then they're safe because we're not interacting with any real chemicals or hazardous materials. And they're easily accessible because the students, when they're online, so anyone can access them at any time. It's not that you have to come at a particular lab time. They can access any time. And moreover, the thing is that they learn concepts beyond what they can learn in a classroom because they're
That's a
more sort of, yeah.
that's awesome. I want to ask more about that. I want to quickly throw out to the audience, if anybody has any other tools that they use that's kind of like this, where it can be a tool that the students can use to apply their learning in a in an online setting or a virtual setting, that you use, share that in the chat. I'd love to hear about some of those other tools that are more like practical learning tools out there. I know there was one, Rajiv, that I saw at a conference. Me and the rep for that company was a business simulator, and where the business students could go in and create their own business and actually go through the process of building up a business and going through all the perils of that, without real money and real equity into it. And they were actually able to do that. I actually forget the name of it, but really cool tool. But tools
Well,
like that that can actually allow the students to apply themselves
you,
even in an online setting. I think that's really great. So if anybody's got any
you
of those
see this,
suggestions.
yeah, you see this presentation which you have on your screen. This is made through an AI tool. I made this in like say like 10 to 15 minutes. And it made a really interactive course. I just gave the prompts like I need this information, and it created a beautiful prompt. I did make some changes though, but it gives you different sort of interactions like which you can put in and add in good concepts, good photos from all over the globe to you can actually use them. But at the same time, there's if you're a science teacher, there are like I mean to say the STEM teachers. There is a very good AI called the GPAI. There's a very good tool where you can actually create diagrams, you know, on biological concepts or on physics concepts, on chemical concepts. You can create diagrams just by giving the prompt. And
Oh,
then,
nice.
yeah, you can actually create assignments like, quiz assignments. You can make exam assignments. You can make lab assignments. You can make class assignments based on that. And it's not expensive. Like I mean, you can use it free of cost, but then if you add a little bit, like $20 a month, then you can use it in a much wider way. And that's actually not only saving your time. At the same time, it's giving you the entire data, the biological data, which large universities have stored in cloud. So you can use them. Like major universities like the University of California and Princeton universities, they have developed a lot of, um, 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 even the Stanford, they've made a lot of virtual labs which are available on clouds now. So
Hmm.
people can actually, I mean, we as educators can use them for our students to learn a lot of concepts. I know there are certain labs where you don't have good equipment, but you can make use of, these cloud AI systems where you can have, which you can use the virtual labs and make your students learn the concepts in a much better way. And I feel that after the COVID, most of the students have become, I mean, want things to be more practical. They want to learn things practically than rather sitting back and just reading through the theory. And so these, uh, uh, you know, AI tools have made it much easier for us to design certain things for the students and make them more interactive, because I feel that generally, like, giving a lecture for 50 minutes puts nothing into their brain. Rather, I feel like, interacting them by giving them, after you learn a little bit, like, for example, you learn a little bit about diffusion and osmosis. See, both of them are almost the same, but except that the osmosis is about water moving from a region of high concentration to a lower concentration, and diffusion is anything like gas or anything moving from a region of high concentration to a lower concentration, right? So, but how do you learn it? When simple concepts won't get into your brain unless you learn those things practically. And yeah, I have a lab experiment which I do for the face-to-face piece, and that how am I going to do the same thing with my online students and hybrid students? And
Hmm.
Labster is really doing a wonderful job for me in that method, because it has all those virtual labs where the students are able to learn those concepts. It's doing a wonderful thing. I think that way students will learn a lot of skills which are required in real world scenarios.
You make a really great point, and one of my favorite quotes I've heard recently was, "We need to let robots do robot things so humans can do human things." And I think that's so adequate to what you were saying. Like, yes, you could have spent several hours creating this slideshow or creating experiments to try to do online. Let the AI do that busy work that really doesn't need your expertise in and create it.
Yeah,
And then let you come in and do the human part, which is figuring out how to make it apply to the students and fine tuning it and then actually administrating it to the students. That's where the human part really comes in. That's where you can embrace AI without it being just, everybody, oh, we're afraid of AI because it's allowing students to cheat too easily. In some ways, it's allowing us also to really create these amazing types of interactions with our students where they can learn a lot easier and it not take you 50 hours to put together because you can do it much quicker.
yeah. I mean, see, you're not teaching one class, you teach a lot of classes, and you have all works to do, a lot of your personal work, your homework, all these things. And there's a scarcity of time. We don't have anything more than 24 hours where you have 8 hours of sleep. So AI, yes, it has created something like, has given us a more easy way of making time for doing all the things. Now, having said that, we also have to be careful about how we use AI, because most of the students nowadays, when I give them a sort of assignment, like say I give them an ASL assignment to do some sort of research on, on microbiota or something, they simply go and type a sort of prompt onto the chat GPT and create an entire file and then copy paste it.
Yep.
That's what I tell my students. This is very much important. I put them in my syllabus too, that we have to interact with the students and tell them, hey, see, there's no doubt that that AI is a good tool. It's helping you in doing your assignments, but then use them sensibly. Like, generate something, learn from it, and then put them in your own words, because that's helping you to learn certain things. And research has also found out that more of scientific interaction with the students and mostly using this digital technologies to make students learn new concepts have always increased their attention towards the subject which they're learning to. So
Mm.
that's improved their you know improved their understanding of the concepts and also retention of those concepts. So now they're able to understand the concept which they're learning in the class, as well as retain them. And how do you retain them? In the classroom, we can help a student retain this concepts which you're teaching by frequent interaction or frequent asking questions. But it's not possible when you're on an online class or on a hybrid class. And how do you teach them? And I use this harmonized discussions especially for that, and also the Labster. Both of them are helping me in a lot better way. And if in Labster, if you see that like meiosis and mitosis, like I've designed this entirely on Harmonized, and Harmonized has, yeah, I've designed this entirely on Harmonized. So this is not something which I type. I just gave them a good prompt, and it created a complete assignment. Like, see, David, can you show them where you can actually give the prompt and what's so edit? So the generate prompt over there on Harmonized. So you can actually give a prompt and it keeps generating. Like when you generate one concept, can you go there? Yeah. Create a discussion about create a discussion on mitosis and meiosis.
You can make it as simple as that.
Yeah, you can do that simple. So it keeps giving different sort of assignments. It generated one assignment now, and you can go through that and see if you like that assignment or if the students are able to, or you can generate more assignments. You can, yeah, generate another one. You can it keeps on generating until you find an assignment which you like for your students to do. So this is a very useful tool which I found on Harmonized Discussion. So I use this quite frequent, designing different sort of assignments, and my assignments keep changing for every class, like every semester. They're not the same assignments. I keep changing these assignments so that students don't interact with themselves. So I keep changing my assignments, giving them more challenging assignments every semester, so that and they have a whole week to do this. They have a whole week, to interact with their peers and interact with their colleagues and start doing this. And once they do that, so I design it in such a way where they write a summary about the concepts, what they learned in that particular chapter, and then they can ask certain questions, like one or two questions on concepts which they didn't understand or they got confused while reading through the chapter, and then they can interact with their colleagues based on their summaries. Like they can go read the summaries of their colleagues and see what they liked, how they liked, or
Mhm.
what they liked in them, and then they can put on a discussion. And I discuss with them on the next week about like answer their questions to them and go through their summaries. And if they misinterpreted some concepts, I correct them over there. So in this way,
Mhm.
they learn a lot. So this is something which, it's a sort of brainstorm, like, for them, and it really works out for me.
So we were talking earlier about using Harmonize to do this. You can do this in like ChatGPT or Gemini. What is the difference between Harmonize and just using one of the AIs out there?
The thing is, see, AI tools all over the world are training centers. right? You're training a module over there by giving prompt. So in ChatGPT and all, when you give a prompt, you have to be very careful because one wrong prompt by you will mislead the information what that module is storing in. But that's not the case in harmonized discussion because harmonized discussion, oh, the harmonized does a backend for us. So whatever prompt you give, it corrects the prompt and it puts on the better prompt to create a better assignment for you. But that's not happening in ChatGPT or any of the like Perplexity or Claude. You give a wrong prompt, it goes off in a wrong way. So you don't get what you want to achieve. That's not the case in harmonized discussion. You even give a spelling mistake or you you know some people have problem with English language. They give a wrong prompt in English language, or you have a grammatical mistake. Still, it corrects itself in the background and it understands what you need, and it gives you a good material.
Yeah, we
That's
do a
the
lot
plus
of
point.
prompt engineering behind the scenes for our AI so that whenever you go in, you can just type a simple topic in. And we've already kind of said, here's Bloom's taxonomy, here's interaction strategies, here's UDL principles. And we're applying that all behind the scenes for you so that you don't have to do all that prompt engineering on your side every time you go in to use. But you can still accomplish this. You could still use ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever platform to
Yeah,
do
but
this. It's just going to be a little bit harder, right?
yeah, but to all the instructors, my advice is learn prompt engineering because that's very crucial.
Hmm.
Because AI is the next future, and if you don't give good prompts, you're going to have a bad AI.
Yep.
If you're using ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude, you need to give very good prompts because that will improve the quality of AI. And prompt engineering is a method which teaches you what sort of prompts and what and when to give. And that's, I think, like a 2 weeks course or something on Udemy. It's hardly $13 or something, but it's a really good course which you can learn.
Yeah, now, yeah, I will say the better you are at your topic in Harmonize, the better results it'll be. So yes, still learning prompt engineering is great. I
Mm.
also wanted to show just really quickly, and I think you've used this a couple of times, Rajiv, of actually taking Harmonize and letting it create the rubric for you. Um,
Yeah,
and so that's another step here where let the robot do the robot work, right? You don't have to take the time to do a rubric for every one of your um uh for every one of your assignments or even your courses. You can have AI help build that as well.
yeah, but if you're using Canvas, it's the making of rubric is already there in the Canvas. But if you're using Harmonize as an external tool in Canvas, then Canvas has a rubric creation, so it does a rubric thing. But you can also do it over here on Harmonized as well.
Yep.
Also,
So
if you could show that you can also include videos, they can also include pictures, like you can include all of those things if you could show them.
yes. um so yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. And you were talking earlier about like students just going in and using AI to get a response for their work. But when you give them the ability to do more engaging assignments that they actually feel like they're getting something out of, but then you
Yeah,
top that off with, hey, when you go in to do this assignment, you can also, record yourself. You could record what you're doing on Lapster. You can record your voice notes. You could actually take a picture of the notes that you have on your desk and share that. All of that you can do within Harmonize, and it just makes it that much, more easier for the students to feel like they can share what they're doing.
yeah, I actually have an assignment for them like every year. Like they have to give a sort of presentation. And so they use Harmonize for doing that, where they can record themselves showing and fill in all the presentation in the Harmonize and then show themselves up discussing about the presentation and everything. They can record the video and download it onto Harmonize. So they do that a lot.
Yeah, I'm showing here just an example of a sample where we have, sample student. This is me actually, where you can
Mhm.
actually annotate on top of the videos, record yourself, do annotations on timestamps, even record your screen. which is a neat concept that you can actually, as the students are doing their lab work or doing whatever they're doing online, they can actually record what they're doing and submit that. Um, so it creates an ability for the students to express themselves. UDL principles, that's become a really hot topic here recently. Universal design for learning says give students more options, and that creates a better learning environment, and that's what we try to do and harmonize. Um, Rajiv, I want to go back to something else that you were talking about in your class, and um, you know, preserving and ensuring that academic integrity. So responsible AI use. How do you let the students know when you use AI? Are you telling them that? And then what are you saying to the students about how they use AI? Are you saying use it responsibly? Are you giving them guardrails? How are you actually
I,
communicating that?
I actually put in certain rules in the syllabus itself. They are free
Hmm.
to use AI, but they're not going to copy paste anything directly from the AI. That's what I told them. And I know their language. So when you copy paste from an AI, you know the language it's using. I know it's not their language.
Yeah.
Okay. So I tell them like, and you have Trinity attached to harmonized discussions. You see that there's a Trinity where you can check like if something is being copied from somewhere directly, and most of the AI, whatever it produces, is directly from some sort of article somewhere being published somewhere, which is there in the database, is going to pick up all those things and put them together to give you a prompt, to give you a complete uh, assignment done. But then I tell them like you if you're doing this, you're cheating yourself because me making you do this is only to improve your skills. And once you pass out from here and go out, and you're looking desperately for a job, you don't develop these skills for now. Nobody's going to wait for you outside there that they're going to give you a job after you. They're going to give you a job and then you sit and you'll develop the skills. Nobody's going to do that. They want people who are trained, who know how to utilize things, who know how to implement their skills. So, in order to do that, I'm trying my best level to teach you these concepts. So I tell them this in the very beginning of the semester. I tell them like, using AI is not bad, but use AI in a better manner to improve your skills. So I tell them this, and most of them implement this because they know that once they are out of this institute, they are desperately looking for a job and they have to improve their skills.
Yeah, I'm sharing now. I'll share this out. This was research done. This was really interesting article, and it says the number one, and this doesn't specifically address AI cheating, but it's cheating in general. And it just was saying that basically motivation is the number one um, cause of cheating. When students don't feel motivated, they cheat, and when they feel motivated, they don't cheat. And I can see how your assignments and discussions and your course design, students are going to feel more motivated to actually go in and do this because they have a clear objective coming out of your class. They're going to actually know how to apply the knowledge. That creates motivation, which means probably just overall less cheating.
See, the motivation doesn't depend only upon those assignments, but also upon what you tell the students. So I
Yeah.
motivate them, showing them different concepts, like, or like showing them different ways how DNA is being used, or like, related to this chapters, what they're learning, like what is bioenergetics, how they can implement these concepts, what they're learning in their real life scenario. Suppose if you're a business person, say you are opening up a business tomorrow. Maybe you're opening up an agriculture business. Maybe you're opening up a pharmaceutical business tomorrow, or you're working for a pharmaceutical company as a business administrator, or you're working for a bank in a business administrator. Suppose you're a banker. Without learning these basic concepts, will you be a good banker? Or will you be a good teacher? Or will you be a good nurse? Because nobody's going to ask you the theories, what you learned in the class. They're going to ask you they're going to see how you're implementing them in real life scenarios. And there's a competition outside of the world where 100 people are applying for one single job, And what actually makes you get selected in the job is your skills. And that you have to develop. And this is the time, the school time, the college time is the place where you develop these skills. You can't develop them once you're out. It's very difficult. You have to spend millions of, you have to spend a lot of money to develop those skills. But instead, over here in the school, we're teaching you this free of cost, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, we were talking this beforehand. I've got my son is a freshman. I was getting ready to say senior. He was a senior in high school. He's a freshman in college, and he is desperate for this stuff. I think, this is anecdotal, but my son, who's he wants to do something in class more than just listen to lecture and take notes. He wants to have something that he can take away and say, "Hey, I'm better now coming out of this class than I was going in." And I think I see enough of that overall that students are just getting smarter about I hate to say it like this, but their investment into college. They want to see more coming out of there than just a piece of paper for a degree, right? Like they want to know. I think they're craving that in some ways. Do you see that in your classroom?
Yes, of course. I see a lot of them. My principles of biology and my microbiology students, they're very motivated, you know. They're very motivated. They want to become something in life. And I have many students who are really who are already some of them want to become a veterinary doctor, and some of them a dentist. They're already going and working in those clinics at the same time. They're also studying. So I mean, they're learning those concepts and implementing those concepts in the place of their work to get to improve their skills. And that's really impressive method. And when I give them all these assignments, you can also show the other assignments about on neurology, which I created. You see the assignments. So I've been teaching neurology for a period, neurosciences, and I made a
I think this
that's
is
for calories.
I think it's this one right here, principles of
Yeah, this one.
biology. Yeah,
Yeah, neuroscience system. So this is a sort of conceptual analytical assignment which I developed using ChatGPT again. I gave them some good prompts and it created a whole assignment. This is a 2 hours lab and it really worked out well. We talked about complete neurology in the class for the first last week, and I developed this and I gave them in the lab, and they really enjoyed doing this, implementing the concept what they learned into actual practical skills.
the,
This is something which they get rejoiced as soon as they see these sort of assignments. They love this lab, you know. So
that's
yeah,
awesome. Do, what feedback are you getting? I'm just curious. Like I know you just got through with the fall semester. Are you getting some since you've kind of developed this more? Are you getting better feedback from the students at like the end of the semester surveys and things like that, or what?
yeah,
Anything?
yeah.
Yeah.
I did have good feedbacks from the students. Some students were really happy with the sort of concepts they learned in the class, and they really gave me a lot of good feedback last semester. It was really good reading through all those things. I don't know who wrote them because there are a lot of students and we don't know who wrote all those things, but they really gave a very good feedback. And this really encouraged me to develop more and more. I'm constantly researching the new methods which you can through which we can make the course more interactive and interesting. Just giving lectures and lectures will bore the students. 15 minutes lecture, it'll just go away from their mind. Instead, make it more interactive, teaching a little bit of concept and then putting some analytical question on them and let them think about it, or a group discussion to interact with them. It's the same concept. That's something which I do in the class scenarios. But then when it comes to online and hybrid, then I use these discussions and a Labster assignments, which is what they really like. Yeah, good
I'm
feedback.
really curious because you've mentioned this a couple of times that you're doing this in your hybrid and flex and online courses. Is there a reason you don't use Lapster and Harmonize and those other tools in your in-person class, or is that something you've
No, I
even
use
thought
them.
about? Oh, you do use them.
I use
Okay.
them. Yeah, I use them. I use them.
So it's
I
not
use
just
them.
this is not just online and hybrid courses. You're using this
No, I
even
use
in
them.
person. Got it.
Yes, of course. Because there's certain set of experiments we can't do in our labs. We don't have the equipment. Those are very expensive experiments. And there are certain set of chemicals which are hazardous. We need, the students need some special training,
Hmm.
which is obviously over a period of time. And so we use Labster, and it's really good.
Yeah, I actually did a webinar. Was it last year? I think 2025, beginning of 2025. And one of the things that was said in that webinar was these were instructors using Harmonize for their in-person courses, and they mentioned how like it brings out the students. So if they had a in-person class and they asked a question for a discussion in class, they'd get about 15% of the students participating in that discussion. Once they started using Harmonize and having like a pre-discussion, they tracked it, and all of a sudden participation in class discussions went up to 85%. 85% of the class started participating in the discussions. And it was because it made it more inclusive. The students had time to think, they had time to process, gather their thoughts. They put their ideas out there. They weren't met because no student wants to feel like they're the stupid person in the class giving a wrong, opinion. And it really made the class way more inclusive by letting all the voices speak. I love that concept that you use this for your in-person classes, and I'm guessing it probably brings in that inclusivity as well.
Yeah, yeah. As long as biology is considered as a general education, like we have general biology, I have less amount of responses. There's most of the students, they come from diverse places. So, and after COVID, I think most of the kids have become much calmer. They don't speak out much, and they feel like talking in the class embarrasses them or something. I don't know for what reason. I tell them, although I tell them, like, you don't have to feel embarrassed asking a question. No question is a stupid question. Every question is a meaning. Maybe you didn't understand the concept. Maybe somebody else understood. It doesn't matter. But you need to clear your questions. But most of them don't talk. So that's the time when I started introducing harmonized discussions where they can ask questions freely. They don't have to worry about what other student is thinking about them, and where I can answer them freely. So yeah, that's the main reason why I introduced harmonized discussions in my face-to-face classes. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Um, we hadn't got a lot of questions that come through. I did see Bailey make that comment, and thank you, Bailey. I'm sure Rajiv will love hearing that praise from you. I want to kind of open this up a little bit for Q&A here at the end. We got a little bit of time left here at the end. If anybody has any questions, or if you want to share anything in the chat, or if you want to come online and share anything, we'd love to hear from you as well. But um, what give us some parting thoughts, Rajiv, while maybe people are gathering some questions to put into the chat. What would you really like for people to take away of what you have learned about designing this course and the success that you've had with it?
See, most of the uh, competitive exams nowadays, what we have outside, they all have analytical questions. They don't have anything which is a direct question. There's no direct question asked. Always, the system itself has changed in such a way that they're looking for skills. They're looking for the skills in students. So every question, every exam has become more of analytical than direct questions. So we as instructors have to implement such sort of training within our educational system as well when we're training these students. That's what happened to me when I was doing my master's in biomedical sciences at Troy University. I was doing the research, and Dr. Jones, who was my advisor, she introduced this.
Mm,
She started all our exams, all our quizzes were completely analytical, nothing a direct question from the PPT presentations or from the textbook. Everything were analytical. You would create a scenario, and you use the concepts to answer that question. You know, and so I think we as educators have to start doing this to our kids, because this is not being done in high school levels. So at least in the college levels, we have to start uh, implementing these concepts in our designing system, so that the kids will start learning how to use critical thinking and how to use the skills which they learned in real world scenarios. That's a major concept. And AI in this is really helping us to design these courses. It's made our work more easier. Believe me, it made the work much easier.
I like that. I mean, you could in I could even show this. You could go into Harmonize and say, "Here's the question, my prompt instructions that I used. Make these more analytical," and it will turn it more analytical for you.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
you
did
could
use that.
yeah. And so, again, use the AI to do AI things and let you do the more human things, let you do the critical thinking and supporting your students and let the machines do what they do best, which is reorganize and categorize and all that stuff. Um, so yeah,
I wish Harmonize in the future will also become more interactive, making quizzes and analytical quizzes and exams for us.
I'll put that in our feature request.
Yeah.
I do know that we do listen to our users all the time, and we actually track our feature requests. We just released assignments and a peer review because we had so many requests for that. And so we do track those requests. So keep those coming in from all of our users who may be in attendance or watching this later. If you have any suggestions and you're like Dr. Rajiv and you're like, yes, I want Harmonize to do this, let us know. We'll make sure we put that on our list. Still don't see any questions come through. I think I'm just going to take this as you explained this so well, Dr. Rajiv, that nobody had any questions. So kudos. Just get yeah. I think that was the answer right there from Abby. She's giving you praise there.
Mhm.
So well, I thank you so much. This has been amazing. I love that you can share this. And and I think this is going to help a lot of people, not just those in biology, not just those in the sciences and STEM, but I think a lot of what you're doing can be applied across the board to a lot of different classes. Just this, if nothing else, your parting words, let's make the learning more analytical so the students can actually apply this in their lives more. So thank you so much. Got a couple of minutes left at the end. I'll stick around in case anybody does have any last minute questions, but otherwise, I'll give a couple of minutes back to your day. And for all of our users, thank you so much. For those not users, thank you for coming as well. And happy harmonizing. See you guys later.
Yeah.
That was really good. Thank you so much. I love that. Great back
You're
and forth.
welcome. I enjoyed it too.
So many
Yeah.
great concepts. And I love what you're doing with the Labster stuff and using AI in those ways. I think it's really smart. Smart use of the tools that are available to you. And like you said, probably a lot of those experiments you couldn't even afford to do. Your department head would just scoff at you if you came and said, "I need the
You
money for
know,
this."
the DNA analyzer, you want to buy it, it's $100,000.
Yeah, ain't happening.
And after these tariffs kicked in, uh, you want to buy a PCR machine, which used to be 20,000, is $67,000.
Wow.
The college doesn't have that sort of budget to buy all these things, but we are teaching these concepts in school in biology. So we are going for a NSF grant.